All right. Hey guys, TG here. So sorry, we're just a couple minutes late trying to get everything up and running. I had to change some internet stuff. So looks like we're good. Had to switch Wi-Fi's real quick to make sure everything was working out. So let's see. Anyway, we'll get into it. We're pretty much at the end of September. September has been a pretty wild month, especially to the downside. Fortunately, the Moxie traders and I have been following that pretty well. We've had a couple good trades this week and basically stayed on the correct side of the market, especially coming from yesterday's big down move. So I'm going to show you kind of how we saw that, what was going on, staying safe, and we got a couple good trades ticked off on that. And then TC South, I see in the comments, it looks like you got teleported someplace that you kind of got surprised as to where you are. So I think you're in a good place. Yep, we're going to be teaching some trading and talking about trading. So I think you're where you need to be. Hope you enjoy it. All right, then the other thing that's still fairly new is that we have the Moxie indicator on stockcharts.com as far as one of their plugins. So we're very excited to be talking about this. For those of you who have been with me with Simpler Trading and you have the Moxie indicator on Thinkorswim, if you also want to get Moxie indicator on stockcharts.com, we are offering a coupon to the store. So if you guys want to do that, reach out to our customer support. But otherwise, if this is your first time trying to pick up the Moxie indicator and you want it just on stock charts, you just go over here to stockcharts.com. We've got links that we're going to be posting, and you guys can go do that. Otherwise, come over here if you want to learn more about me and who I am and what I do. You can come over here to profitpilot.com. We'll post some of those links in there as well. All right, so let me get into over here. So since the stock charts plugin Moxie indicator is still fairly new, I'm going to be running through that a little bit so that we can keep showing you what it looks like. And I pretty much have my charts set up exactly the same way that I do on Thinkorswim. So it's been really great, kind of just easily converting over and using these. I like their layouts. I can work them just fine, and everything's great with them. So what we've been looking at going into this week, actually starting from last week into this week, we had a big move down here, and we pretty much got into cash going into that Friday, going into the weekend. So then when Monday came out and we got this big move down in the market, it wasn't a problem. We were in cash. Okay. So then we figure, well, that was a pretty big move down. There was a big gap between price and some of the moving averages. And so, it also came down to the weekly 21 EMA. So it's likely that price is probably going to bounce at that point or somewhere. And in order to then figure that out, we want to see if price actually starts holding some support. And we could see that, I guess it was Wednesday of last week when I was with you all talking about this, and I think we probably were talking about it and saying, yeah, if we can see price start to hold some of these moving averages, then we'll get a trade. But the concern was, is this a bounce into resistance and we're going to roll back over? And I wrote multiple newsletters. You can find them over at profitpilot.com. The videos that I put in for the subscribers at the Moxie Indicator, I was telling everybody, I was like, look, I'm not so sure about this. I think this is a bounce into resistance. I think we're going to see lower prices, and then we'll have to see where it goes from there. Because what I was seeing, if you come over here and look at this, we had price down, price up. And if you notice the Moxie indicator was down and up. There was no divergence. You see how the price down, price up made a V, and that was the same situation as the V on the indicator. So there was no divergence. They were basically following the same thing. The other thing was that this was an inverse trampoline move. And an inverse trampoline move is when price is over the 50, but the Moxie indicator is still below 0. And that's what that condition was. And we could see this pretty clearly on the Dow. The NASDAQ was kind of leading the way to the downside, actually. So it was ahead of the pack to the downside. And then I'll show you the IWM too, but I was looking for the IWM to actually come back down to test some support. So all these things were telling me, I think we're going to be pulling back again. And so coming into this week, we got another pullback. And that's what yesterday was a big drop down like that. And it was very reminiscent of last Monday. Let me kind of zoom in here, because what you can see is price, on Monday got outside of that third ATR and outside of that third ATR. And then also you could see that price got away from the 8 EMA. And yesterday it also got away from the 8 EMA. So what we've been looking for was, well, there should be a bounce. There should be a bounce at some point. Now, what we're trying to figure out is this oversold move that we experienced yesterday going to have the same sort of bounce like it did last week? And I'd like to think it does, but I'm cautious, and I'm a little bit cautious because it's not looking super great right now, and so I'm not totally set on that. Like, I do see that there is a double bottom, and you can see that there is some positive divergence here with the Moxie indicator. That's exactly now what I'm looking for, but we got to see price get over the 15-minute 50, right? That's kind of where we need to be. And right now, what it looks like is price is actually kind of just bouncing up and flagging into resistance of the 15-minute 50. I don't have a clear picture of what this thing wants to do next. And until I see price get over the 15-minute 50 and then use the 15-minute 50 for support, then we're either in chop or we're going down or something else. But I just don't have a clear picture as to what this thing wants to do. So we need to be really careful out there. And then if we look at the IWM, because this thing's been a little bit clearer for me, and we look at this, what I've been looking for is this giant gap right here between price and the hourly 50. I was pretty happy last week that the IWM actually had some really good days and was very strong compared to some of the other indexes. And that you can see that price got over the daily 50 SMA and all that kind of stuff. And basically I was like, yeah, this is great, but I still need to see my rules fulfilled. I need to see price come back down to the hourly 50. And so that's kind of what I've been waiting for, and we got that yesterday. But now I need to see price actually hold around here. I need to see price need to hold the hourly 50. And again, I need to see price get on top of the 15-minute 50, just like what it did over here. And I'm not seeing that right now. I'm not seeing it yet. The daily chart right now looks good, but we need to wait for the lower time frames to really confirm this. And we do have the 8 over the 21, so that's good. And we do have price sitting right here at the daily 50, and actually the daily 50 is now kind of trending up just a little bit, so that's good. The Moxie indicator is still below zero, it's still kind of lagging. So really, I like kind of what's happening. I like what's happening with the IWM. I like what's happening with the S&P, but it's not confirmed yet. So this could still be worse. It could still go down. It could also kind of just go sideways for a little while. I'd love to see these things start to move up and hold support, but I just don't see it yet. And so we're going to have to probably give it another day to really get a decision. Otherwise, these things might continue to trend down in a way. All right, so it looks like most of you guys were able to find the link. We have my assistant for this is out of the office today, so we had to go fetch an old link. All right. Let me know if you guys, what kind of tickers you guys are looking at while I kind of go through some of my names, because GH was a really good trade for us this week. So let me show you how GH worked out for us. And it was just beautiful. So let me know if you guys have anything else, because I'm not seeing much to the upside. I actually went through much of the market to this morning, and I don't know. I don't see much happening out there. In fact, a couple of short names that we have are working out. So with GH, you can see that there is a double top, right? That's an inverse elf shoe. So if you guys look at this, here's the leg, here's the heel, here's the arch of the foot, there's the ball of the foot, and there's the inverse elf toe. So, I talk about these elf shoes all the time. Most of them I try and go positive with them, but in the same time, inverse elf shoe, it's basically a double top, and that one worked out beautifully. And we got in here when price started to kind of break through the hourly 50. We got the 8 below the 21, and we got the Moxie indicator. Look at this, was firing underneath 0 the entire time. And over here on the 15-minute time frame, you can see that price ran right into the underside of a downtrending 15-minute 50 with the Moxie indicator below 0, and this thing was just an absolute dream. So it's been a little while since these things have actually worked out smoothly, but GH was it was great. So you can also see on the daily chart that there was a big gap between price and the daily 50, so that's where I was going for. Imran, good to see you. Yeah, and thanks. We're pretty excited to be having a partnership with Stock Charts. They're really great people over there, so they're just fun to work with. All right, so another one that we're going to be looking at is JD. And JD, another kind of Chinese stock, and I think just Chinese stocks in general are getting a hard time. They just not doing too well, and with the market also kind of looking weak. We were looking at this one. And I was like, I think this is eventually going to fall below and break below the daily 50. And it took a couple times, but it remained heavy. And you can see that actually today it's starting to break below the daily 50. So I think that's a pretty good sign, that it's demonstrating that the daily 50 is not going to be strength. So I think that bodes well for our down move. And you can see right here that level. And also what it was doing is we had a bit of a fake out a day or 2 days ago, right here, where we had price try to pop up over a downtrending hourly 50, but the Moxie indicator was still below zero. And so I didn't let it fake me out too much like that. I was like, this shouldn't be doing what it wants to be doing. And sure enough, it rolled back over. The other thing that kind of kept me in check with that is if we look at the 15-minute time frame, we could see that price did just jump up over the 15-minute 50. But usually, I look for price to follow or engage with moving averages. And so I was willing to give it a little bit more time because there was price and there was the 15-minute 50. And I was like, well, if this is going to keep going up, then price is going to hold the 15-minute 50. And it didn't. It closed way up here, and the moving average is way down here. Had a little bit more of a gap up the next day, and then it just got slammed down. And then we got another little bounce today, but ultimately, look at this. Price was staying underneath a downtrending 15-minute 50. So, we kept in it, and this thing's looking fine to the downside. So it's doing well for us also. Let's see, kind of, there's really not a ton of names out there that I'm looking at. Another one that keeps getting asked about, Big Five. Let me zoom out on this one. It seems as though it's holding up pretty well, but it's not fulfilling the rules that I need. So I was originally looking at this of price coming back down to the daily 50, which it did. And then, of course, we try and look around and say, is price going to hold at the daily 50? Well, then we look lower to try and answer that question. And you can see here, just like JD, Big Five was also doing an inverse trampoline move. Price was trying to bounce up over or get over the hourly 50, but notice that the Moxie indicator was below zero the whole time. So that was problematic. And if we look a little bit closer, the same thing that I was just talking to you guys about JD applies to Big Five, to where I'm saying, okay, great. So price is over the hourly 50. Now I want to see price hold the hourly 50. It's most likely going to come down to it. Then we need to find out if it's going to hold. So it came down here to the hourly 50. Notice that the Moxie indicator was still below zero. And I did notice that there was a double bottom here on the 15-minute time frame. You can see that on the hourly time frame too. Okay, well, let's see if this can hold. And it basically did the next day. You can see price held there, bounced up and over. And so then, I keep going through these series of yes, no's and basic process of elimination for my checklist. Now I'm asking myself, well, is price going to hold the 15-minute 50? And if it does, well, then price should be moving up. But if it doesn't hold the 15-minute 50, then that's kind of a strike against it, and it might not work out. So I continued to wait because it looked kind of interesting, but you can see here, it just still has not held the 15-minute 50. So there's just still no trade here yet for me. It can't really get going. It can't get on top of these moving averages. It's not using them for support. And at this point, the risk is to the downside. This could continue to go down if the 15-minute 50 is resistance and actually wants to put stuff down. And we see over here on the hourly that we now have the 8 below the 21, which is part of what began the down move on GH. For GH, the short entry was priced below the 15-minute 50, the Moxie indicator below zero, and the 8 below the 21, and the Moxie indicator below zero. So I'm looking at this stuff. It's like, I at least don't see a long. I'm not sure if I really want to short Big Five, but I definitely don't see a long. And so that's keeping me out of a trade like this. Now, Tesla, again, I'm very cautious about this market and what is going on, and I don't see an opportunity with Tesla. There were a few other tickers that kind of looked like Tesla yesterday, and I didn't go for it. So, I could be wrong. Maybe this thing pops over the next couple days. I don't know. But right now, I'm just not seeing that opportunity. Yeah, there was a big move down yesterday with everything, and Tesla held up fairly well. It did. But for me, yesterday, price was still underneath the 15-minute 50, and the Moxie indicator really wasn't looking that good. And I just didn't have the confidence that this thing was going to really work out very well. At least not right now, because what I need in order for me to tell that something is going to be moving to the upside is I really want to see price up over a moving average and following the moving average to the upside. And you can see right now we're still not up over there. We're not over the 15-minute 50. We're still chopping around. Now maybe this works out in the next few days, or maybe this rolls over and goes down. But right now, I don't see the thing that I need to see in order to go long on Tesla, and I'm just really kind of concerned about this market in general. And it's just really challenging. The other thing that I've been seeing with a fair amount of stocks out there is that they've been getting held up at their previous highs. And if you look at Tesla, here's its previous high right here, and the bottom side of it is right where price is, and it has me concerned. We've just been seeing these things not doing well. And the other thing that I'm noticing is, and I trade about the third ATRs, is notice that every time that Tesla so far has come to the third ATR, it's gotten sold into. So, it's kind of maybe not the best place to be entering a long trade. At least that's my belief and my opinion on this. The other thing is, look at where price is. Price is up here, kind of. It's a little elevated off of the daily 8 EMA, right? Just like here was elevated, just like here was elevated, and just like here was elevated. Best kind of place is to buy when it comes into support into some of the moving averages, and like here at the 21, here at the 21, here at the 21. Those were decent places to consider buying. But yeah, it's rough out there. I just not seeing a whole bunch of stuff I want to be working with. All right, Austin, good to see you. Let's see, slash ZC. Yeah, I didn't think that was going to pull up on that. Let me get you on here. Slash ZC. Corn, huh? Well, let's see. Get a bigger picture. All right, so you're saying got a small position corn. Looks like it can push to 555 or 560. So, yep, you just needed to push up a little bit. The thing I would be aware of is that you do still have the 8 below the 21 on the weekly chart, and a lot of times I see the 21 as resistance. So your little push up to about 555, 560 could make sense because that was where it seems logical resistance would be because of that weekly 21. I guess I'm also seeing, if you look where the line is going, you can see that there's a whole lot of resistance right here from previous times. So always look left to figure out where it is. So if we go back over here, a couple different things, I'll walk you through this. So you're just going to have to see if this actually continues to work out. Yeah, number one, pretty good situation right here. The price was below the 50, but the Moxie indicator was above 0. And the other thing, guys, anybody who's kind of new to me or hasn't seen this or still wants to kind of see how the Moxie indicator works, this is corn futures. I've never looked at this, but the rules and the principles that I use to trade and that I teach using the Moxie indicator and that the classes are full of and how this thing works basically can be applied to anything. And as I said, never seen this ticker or anything, but I'll walk you through and show you the things that are popping up using the Moxie indicator. Let me kind of put my cursor here, because if you look right there, this is a trampoline move. And what that is when price is below the 50, but the Moxie indicator is above 0. That's a high pressure, high buoyancy type setup. The other thing I was saying is, look here, on the daily chart, that's a leg, that's a heel, that's the arch of the foot, that's the ball of the foot, there's the elf tail. So basically a double bottom. And then on the same place, on the 15, you can see, where did price start to go long? When price held the 15-minute 50 and the Moxie indicator was above 0. All these things were lining up to show that this thing actually wanted to go long. There was a bullish trade in through here. Everything looked good on exactly that day. So Austin, it sounds like maybe you caught something like this and it's been working out for you. Now, looking into that, you can see that price then, and this goes back to like Tesla and Big Five, those stocks I was just talking about. Like, if we are going to go long, we need to see price get up and over these moving averages and use these moving averages for support. And that's what we need to look for. And so sure enough, right there on the 15-minute time frame, great. That's where price started to engage with the moving averages. And then you can see on the hourly chart, price started to engage with the hourly 50. It was on top of it and then tested and all that stuff. And then you got maybe a little bit of a further pull back, and that turned out to be the trampoline move. Another price dipping below the hourly 50, but look at the Moxie indicators. Very good, very strong. And then you get another bounce up, and then you can see price pulling back into the hourly 50. So far, all this stuff is looking pretty good. And even possibly right here, you got price 15-minute back over the 15-minute 50. Now, there is some resistance right here of the daily 50. So Austin, the question is price going to be able to get through and get past the daily 50 right here? Or is it going to get rejected and it's going to have to do it again? That's the challenge. And so just be prepared based on where you got in and what your stop loss is and all that kind of stuff to be just understand that it might come up here, bounce around a little bit, and then maybe finally pop through. Or it might come up here and get knocked down, and then it might have to try again later. So definitely keep two things in mind when you guys try and trade, because you're like, okay, here's what I'd like to see, but here's also what can possibly happen if that doesn't work out. So that daily 50-10 is a resistance. Let me see if, so for example, like solo. Here's actually a really good, let me see if I can show you. There we go. Here's on the daily and the hourly. So let me show you the first one. And you can see here, just like that corn situation, how price came up into the daily 50 and it actually got rejected by the daily 50 and it couldn't make it. So this is what I was just talking about. It could come up to the daily 50, try, it's still resistance, and it has to come back down and do it again later. And that's what we're seeing here. And so then you can see that price tried it again, and it actually started to get past the daily 50. And that's been starting to work out. And then once, let me kind of open this up a little bit for you. Zoom this out. And you can see that once this thing actually starts to work, you can see that price, tried to get past there, and then it actually did get past there, and then there's the initial pop. And then just like how I always teach, I always look for those pullbacks. You can see, okay, great, price shot up and over. That's good news. Now a heads up. Now we say, well, let's see if price can come back down and engage with some of these moving averages for support. And I like that price has actually come back down here and is settling nicely right along here. And then if it can start to move up like that. So that's looking pretty good. And even the hourly chart right here coming into the hourly 50 is also pretty good, because if we zoom in on this, yesterday or the day before, whatever days these were, do I really want to go buy that up there? No, you don't want to buy that. It's up outside of that third ATR. It's got a very big gap between price and the hourly 50. You want to wait for price to come back down and do something like this and get closer to those moving averages. So this is something where we're going to need a little bit more time go by and just kind of get this figured out and see if price is going to be holding these moving averages and moving up from there. So solo, I think, is a fairly good example of that. And you can see here kind of waiting to see what price is going to do, because from yesterday into today, part of my hesitancy about some of this stuff like Tesla is right there, price got rejected by the underside of the 15-minute 50. So we'll have to be seeing this tug of war between the 15-minute 50 and the hourly 50 for support. Which one's going to win? Right now, it's the 15-minute time frame, but we're going to have to wait and see if the hourly 50 is ultimately going to be some support. So do be careful out there. Let me kind of take a look back at the SPY and see if there's anything to really talk about. We're looking at this. We're waiting to see what happens right here of price at the 15-minute 50. If the 15-minute 50 continues to be resistance, then this double bottom that we're seeing right here on the hourly SPY is just a resting area until price goes lower. But if that double bottom is going to hold, great, it'll hold. It'll start getting on top of moving averages and we'll start to move back up. But it's a real challenging place right now to seriously pick a direction. So just be careful out there and just kind of keep it light and see what you guys can do about that. All right, so we're going to be wrapping it up there. As I said, remember that we got over here, profitpilot.com, if you guys are interested in learning more about me. And then once again, we've got the Moxie indicator now on stockcharts.com, and it's been great working with those guys. Really enjoy them. They've got a good product, and it took us a little while, but we got the Moxie indicator built on there, so that's nice. If you guys are interested, come check it out. If you already have the Moxie indicator on Thinkorswim from Simpler Trading, you can come over. I think we've got some coupons for you over at the Simpler Trading store, so go reach out to customer support. And if you guys want to pick that up, we'll give you some discounts. So great.